Hi, Dr. Marcia Tuft here. Today I'm going to show you how to make my knit balls. These are about 2-inch diameter knit balls. They're great for Christmas tree ornaments, cat toys, and my first personal favorite, catapult balls, or all three. You start with a circular cast on, which is maybe the most specialized skill you need to make this pattern. And then you'll increase a couple of rows, knit some straight rows, and then do about 3 rows of decreasing. You will need to use double pointed needles. This is a size 3, about 5 inches long, and the yarn I'm using is a Sassy Skein. This particular color is 216. I'm actually going to be using Strawberry Daiquiri, but it's the worsted weight, the 200 series weight is what I use. You can download my pattern from the web. This gives you the basic instructions if you're familiar with knitting. If you're not, follow along with me and I'll show you how to do all the key steps. I use this little table on the left to check off when I've completed a row when I'm doing the straight knitting. Otherwise, sometimes I lose my place and I forget how many rows I've knitted, especially if I'm putting my knitting down and coming back to it later. Okay, so to start, the circular cast on. Okay, let me get my yarn tail here. So we're going to take our yarn tail and I'm going to take the tail underneath the top loop, okay? And I'm going to bring the tail back in and through the loop. So the bottom line, you're going to have an overhand knot, okay, with the tail coming out the bottom. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm going to hold the loop open with 3 fingers, well, 2 fingers, and I'm going to hold the new yarn open. And I'm going to take a double pointed needle in my right hand. I'm going to put it through the loop. Okay, then I'm going to bring my needle over the top of this piece of yarn and back through the loop. That's my first cast on. I'm going to go over the top of the loop and bring it back over the needle and then under for another. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that in pairs of 2 until I get 7 stitches. Okay, so now I have 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches on my needle, and I'm going to snug up this loop. You can do it more once you've got your knitting done, but now I have 7 stitches. Now I'm going to ignore this tail, and now I'm going to knit 2 rows, distributing it on 2 double pointed needles. So I'm going to put 3 stitches on my first needle. Double pointed needles are a little bit of a advanced beginner technique. So you might have to start over a couple of times, but man, once you master double pointed needles, you'll feel like you can do anything. They're not that hard. Okay, so I've got 3 stitches on my first needle. I'm going to put 2 stitches each on my next 2 needles. Now, a little trick I like to use to help me keep track of where my rows begin is, especially when I'm knitting on double pointed needles, I like to arrange my stitches so that my last needle or 2 have fewer number of stitches on them than my first needle. That way all I have to do is count my stitches and I'll know where I'm at. Okay, so now this tail is sticking out here. I'm going to pull it between these 2 needles. Now I've completed 1 row. That's my first row. And you can tell that because you can see here my next needle to knit on has 3 stitches. And my last needle, which is where my yarn is coming off, that has 2. So I know I'm at the beginning of my next row. So now I'm just gonna knit. You start knitting off at one end and you just slide it off the back. So that's the cool thing about double pointed needles. You start on one end and you knit straight off the back. So you can go round and round and round. This is great for starting some hats, socks. There's a really cool turtle pattern, which is one of the first things I attempted after a couple basic projects, and that was so much fun. It took me a while to get through the circular cast on. Okay, so now I've completed 2 rows. I'm snugging up my center. See what a nice start we have? Okay, so I'm going to pick up in the next video and show you how to do the make one increases.